Broad Peak is the new Polish Netflix film that looks at a determined mountain climber. Now, honestly, as a couch potato, nothing about this film is relatable. But is it entertaining? After climbing Broad Peak Mountain, Maciej Berbeka learns his journey to the summit is incomplete. 25 years later, he sets out to finish what he started. This is based on true events, so if you're already familiar with Berbeka's story, this isn't going to be anything new. Now, I knew zero about him, so this was intriguing to watch a man attempt to conquer a mountain that had thwarted him many years before. The film follows Berbeka, first for an extended period of time as he climbs Broad Peak in his initial attempt. Now he, along with his team, are climbing in winter, which presents unique complications, including erratic and unpredictable weather. Now the filming feels very realistic and it transports us right into the harrowing circumstances. For this production, the studio notes stated that they filmed at 5,600 meters above sea level, which is the highest altitude a feature film has ever been made to date, excluding I guess maybe small scenes like that halo jump in Mission Impossible Fallout. Now, filming at this altitude creates a huge sense of loneliness and isolation. There's snow blowing across the actors with winds that are just expertly captured within the audio. Now, the sound design is haunting and it's freaky, especially in scenes where the climbers have hunkered down for some sleep. Their tents are just being whipped and beaten by the constant barrage of wind. There's a minimal amount of dialogue in this, so much of the emotion that translates through the screen is actually created from the environments and then the body language of our actors. We can see their exhaustion, fear, and even resignation to defeat within their eyes, providing very visceral and palpable emotions. Now, because of the lack of dialogue, it is a bit tough at points to create a connection with Berbeka. I mean, we can root for or maybe against him just simply based on his actions, but it takes quite a bit of time to really get a sense of who he is outside of someone who's just driven and committed, and then even quite selfish. There's a time jump that happens towards the latter half of the film, and while the transition at first feels slightly abrupt, it is easy to catch up with what's going on. Now, the issue I have though is that Berbeka is still a stranger to us. We get to see emotion from him and even get small insights into his current state of mind, but beyond that, nothing new is gleaned from him. He's still quiet, slightly brooding, he's haunted by his past, and unfortunately, he's still selfish. The other characters showcased in this, whether in the past or even after the time jump, they're all known to us in very surface level ways. Now, I'm not sure we really need to know a ton about them just simply because they're minor supporting characters to Berbeka, but it does make it more difficult to engage with their journey or even be concerned for them because they're so unknown to us. The cinematography is stunning. It captures the grandeur of the mountain ranges as well as the isolation that the settings provide. There are a few incredible top-down aerial shots that show how tiny the actors really are on these massive mountainsides. And while these are typically peaceful to watch, they also create a sense of terror or maybe even apprehension because we can see how daunting the surroundings are and then the imminent danger that the mountains threaten to unleash at any given moment. Now, another item listed in the production notes discussed the realism of some of the situations during the shoot. The weather got so cold that the lowest temperature recorded by the film crew was more than minus 30 degrees Celsius. And that's just a guess on their part, since their thermometers wouldn't go lower than that. Now, I think this speaks to the dedication of the filmmakers, the cast, and the crew to capture an experience and have it be as close to real as possible, which I really appreciate. There's a certain level of realism that translates through the screen, especially in Berbeka's initial climb where we see him have to hunker down into this cave that he digs into the side of an ice cliff. His beard is caked with ice and snow, and his breathing is slow and labored. I could feel the danger that he was facing. It creates a very anxious and suffocating feeling, as well as pretty much removing all hope of making it out alive. And through these tense scenes, we hear this crackling radio of the base camp trying to communicate with Berbeka, which I think in itself is haunting. Now, this is pretty downtrodden and melancholy for a story, but the quiet way in which it's told is surprisingly engrossing. And because I didn't know anything about Berbeka or his team's attempts at climbing Broad Peak, this was a brand new story for me. It's wildly depressing, and even though it has moments that showcase the fortitude that people have to conquer their goals, this isn't something that I'm ever going to revisit. The filmmaking is impressive. It's captured in stunningly beautiful detail with footage that it just really allows us to get a sense of what it's like to go on this journey. The acting is subdued, but it's convincing, and I still, though, leave this story feeling as though the characters are pretty much strangers. Now, this has some of the tenseness and anxiety, just like mountain climbing dramas like Everest, but it's not as engaging or memorable. There's some sex and nudity, some profanity, and a little bit of violence. I give Broad Peak 3 out of 5 couches. What's a mountain climbing movie that you enjoy? Now, I remember liking K2, but it's been forever and a day since I've actually seen it, so it may not hold up at all. Let me know yours, though, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.